Good morning and welcome to the Scottish Highlands. This video will be a little bit different than the videos I've been making because first off, this is the first chance that I've had to get into the Highlands to make a photography video. Secondly, I've rented a car today, so this is vastly different from the experiences that I've had so far using my bicycle and public transportation to get out and photograph the Scottish landscape. Today the car has gotten me onto Route A87, which if you've ever toured through the Scottish Highlands, you've probably been here. This is the main route connecting the hub city of Inverness to the Isle of Skye, Island Donan Castle, some of those popular Highland attraction areas. I took a tour bus through this area a couple days ago, so I have seen some of these areas before and I have some cursory familiarity. I'll share some of those images from the tour bus day throughout the video because I had outstanding light and weather conditions. There was snow on all these peaks around me, which has been washed off by a couple of intervening days of rain. So I think this video will be an interesting look at the difference between taking the opportunity to get into unique areas and make unique fine-tuned compositions versus maybe a day of having great light and perfect weather conditions. So without any further ado, there's a little river here coming into a valley with some nice peaks, some fog in the background. Let's get down there and make some photos. If you can't see it, it's starting to rain. The forecast for today is terrible, but this is probably the last day that I'll have to get out and make photos of the Scottish landscape during my trip in Scotland. My next couple days involve a lot of busing back down into the lowlands, taking COVID tests, and packing up and getting myself back home to Indiana. Ooh, I think I'll take this. So this is the shot. Absolutely nothing to complain about on this very rainy morning here in Scotland. All these nice hardened igneous rocks here anchoring down the foreground, leading you into this river scene. Overhead we've got some tree limbs poking in, just enough to imply the trees that you can't see from the wooded area that is just behind the camera. Okay, I think while the sky's got a nice, decent blue hue to it right now, I'll go ahead and take the shot. If I really liked this photo, I might have photoshopped out all the raindrops, but I was a little slow getting into the game for these first few, and honestly that's pretty typical, and I wanted to share them for that reason. And I'll go ahead and make one at this tighter focal length as well, so that maybe we exclude less of the foreground but magnify the mountains in the background. At this point I realized I was taking warm-up photos and mostly capitalizing on the time I had already invested in hiking down to the riverside. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. These trees here are really an obstruction for the more striking mountain range behind me. But the only way to get that composition would be from across this stream. And there's no safe way to cross it right here. So I'm just gonna move on and look for more compositions. There's lots to see along this roadside and the light's actually getting better. Okay, I've just come in for a second stop, maybe a mile or two up the road. There's a trail crossing here, so a good place to pull off and park. Definitely an opportunity that you wouldn't see from a tour bus. The parking spots are really narrow. Okay, it stopped raining for just a little bit. As you can see, the sky is starting to clear up and blue up ever so slightly. That's let me get my second camera out. So the second camera is letting me show you how close some of these rocks and things are to my second shot. They're right there in front of the camera, so I'm really working the foregrounds now. This composition is really all about layers. So the mist is sort of helping me separate these ridges that on a sunny day would sort of all get stacked together and run into each other and be hard to disambiguate the subject matter. So I'm going to try to capitalize on this momentary good light by grabbing this shot. I'll walk you through the composition really quickly, and then we'll run up the road and try to get a few more before we get rained on some more. Okay, so like I said, this shot is all about foreground. So I'm gonna get up pretty close to these rocks, and I'm shooting this at 35 millimeters, and that's giving me the maximum magnification of this lens on those mountains in the background. But yeah, this image consists of a lot of layers. The rocks here, of course, a ridgeline here and here. And you notice that the ridges get softer and softer before they lead to the final peak in the background right here. And the reason for that is just because of the aggregation of mist across the distances. So each ridgeline is occluded by more and more mist, so it takes a softer and softer tone. So this is a much more complex scene, a lot more to enjoy front to back in terms of detail from these grasses in the foreground. Nice pebbled creek, right? Not the smooth, long exposure that we were going for earlier. All these nice tree limbs, and then to me, the real accent of the photo is on a ridgeline that's just out of view of the camera you're watching. This ridgeline with the trees hanging off, very nice. So I'm making sure to focus on that to get those absolutely pin sharp. This one's for 1/3 of 1 second at f11, as always with the 2-second timer. Okay, let's roll. So as I keep mentioning, my middling experience this morning was spoiled by a tour bus trip I'd taken a couple days earlier, and while that trip was relaxing and leisurely, and I have to credit the driver for getting us into these photo stops like Island Donut Castle and this breathtaking, if not too common, overlook from Kilt Rock on the Isle of Skye, it was still somewhat frustrating to see these truly rare photographic conditions passing by with no control over when or where we stopped to make spoil of the scenery. What you're seeing now are all photos I admit priding myself on taking through the moving tour bus window. They were technically challenging to take and to process, so I hope you enjoy them. But in this 60-mile-per-hour shutter rush, I found I truly missed the process you've seen me undergo in this video of stopping, listening, and intimately communicating with the landscape. Okay, this is a spot where I've really got a chance to show myself up from the tour bus pictures that I took the other day. As I was coming through, I actually took this photo from this spot as the tour bus was going by with my camera out the window with the shutter and motor drive, trying to catch it at the right moment where the bow of this river is perfectly aligned. So, right, so even though it's a photo of a really beautiful place, it's just so bothersome that like all the elements are all misaligned. So I'm gonna go see if I can improve on that today. Okay, so I'm a little frustrated that I don't have the great light and weather atmospheric conditions that I had the other day, especially with the snow covering the whole top of the range here. But I do have the opportunity to like meticulously and perfectly compose the photo, so. So this is like the perfect opportunity where I can put those two photos side by side, right? The perfect light weather portfolio, bucket list conditions, and the sort of average conditions we have today with the sort of like distracting all melty snow on top of the mountains, but perfectly composed. You tell me which one you like better. Okay, I'm gonna go have one more shot. This will probably be the last shot of the day. Not because I'm running out of things to shoot, but because this rental car is actually overdue. So one disadvantage to the rental car, I suppose, at some point you gotta return it and your day's over. But I've had it since last night, so actually I'll show some of the images that I made last night also. But not great conditions last night. Conditions actually getting better and better today, but frustratingly I gotta take this thing back to Enterprise. This is just a total playground. Lots of rocks and cool things to climb around on. All kinds of interesting foregrounds. I'm especially interested in all these old, like, dead tree roots and stuff. Like, check this out. Sweet, huh? Just anything you could ever want to put your camera in front of is all right here. So I've had a great time out shooting. I'll show you a couple of shots that I made, but like I said, I got to get going. Probably the last shot of the day, so try not to slip and fall on these slippery rocks. Just sign off right here, maybe for the last time from Scotland. Yeah, really looking forward to getting back to the States and reporting to you again once I get back there. But until I see you that next time, you guys keep an eye out and a foot forward, and thank you so much for watching. So I crunched some numbers, and I decided that, you know, if I supplemented my normal GI Bill benefit with this scholarship, that I could just barely pull off catching a flight over to Scotland and riding out the semester on ramen noodles there. I can't think of a better way to sort of showcase what my life is like in Scotland, where I'm situated in Scotland, and what I'm going to be working on photographically while I'm here.
So you've got a perfect location really to be here. This is the best place to be.